Hi, here's a quick walkthrough of the Testers.AI bug finding extension for IDEs. So IDEs are development environments where developers code and build things, and it's an extension that fits right in there. So it's built for developers, but testers could use it too. The whole idea of this is just to find bugs. So you give it a URL, and it's kind of designed to be the fastest way to find bugs. Using AI. Of course, I buried the lead, but using AI. So we can start look here. There's a bunch of virtual testers. So these are AI testing agents, and they test different things, like everything from security and privacy. Page content is like the words on like the spelling of the page, or if there's a video or an image, it kind of checks all that kind of stuff. Gen AI code is an interesting one. That agent looks for issues that are specific to code and web pages that were generated by AI. So generative AI has like weaknesses, like they have problems that are very common with AI generated code that humans don't do, mistakes that are common to AI. And so it looks for those. Also, there's accessibility. It's kind of a lighter version of accessibility. It doesn't do the full WCAG, but it'll find accessibility issues. Content quality is also around like, is it correct, right? Not just is it misspelled or something, but is the actual content correct? And also like measures things like the cognitive level of it, like there's acronyms that are not explained, all that kind of stuff. There's performance, which is pretty obvious, but it looks for, looks at all the network calls on the web page and just sees if there's performance problems. And then there's a bunch of different specific testers for different types of widgets, I would call them, on web pages that are common. So search box, chat bots, search results, product details, shopping carts, etc. So they're just very specific to specific checks that are common to all of those types of widgets on web pages. So basically, this is your new test team, right? And if you're a tester, you became a test manager. And if you're a developer, you don't have to wait for the team to spin up or write a bunch of test cases to start finding bugs in your code. And the key thing I think here it's interesting is because it's in the IDE and it's super simple is you can catch and find these bugs before you check in. So you don't have to write the JIRA ticket or deal with the JIRA ticket. We'll actually just start it. So it's very simple. You click on here and you can enter which URL you want tested. And you can also add any instructions to the AI. So say you just want it to ignore security issues, or you could say whatever you want in there, like, hey, really make sure the branding is consistent and always uses our new red logo, for example. So you can kind of talk to the team, just like you give it scoping instructions, like to a test team, like what's the testing scope or some extra information that would be useful for them. You can even include like, expected behaviors, or hey, this one web page isn't ready for testing yet, or this part of the page isn't ready for testing, for example. So you just come in here and you just click to find bugs, and guess what it does? It starts finding bugs. So this is the web page, it's loading up in the background. So we're just gonna be testing Fandango for fun. And here you'll see a chat bot. So these are all the testing agents, and they're kind of saying what they're doing. So this one, he's the one that he basically does like the automation steps, and then you'll see here later. So he's like loading the web page, extracts all these different artifacts, so screenshots, DOM structure, console logs, networking activity, etc., so that the agents can test those things. And then you see here like Sophia is running right now, and so she's testing. What is Sophia testing? Content quality. So these are the things she checks for, and here are the artifacts. Here's a bunch of network calls, console logs, everything. So she's testing all those things against all those different artifacts, and she's looking for bugs. And we'll see the bugs she finds in a second. Now here's a list of all of so you can enable or disable these different testers. Yeah, she's the only one enabled right now, but you turn on accessibility, turn on off Gen AI. It's just faster if you only have one running. But we've got a full list of the standard checks that are Every page should be checked for, and most test teams don't. And you'll find, interestingly, if you run these checks against like production websites, even like from Microsoft and Google, you'll find issues and bugs that have escaped all of their test teams. So yeah, and then we get to these in a second. We'll talk about the settings real quick, just for a note. So you can use your own API keys. In fact, you need to use your own. Right now, you need to use your own, AI API keys from Anthropic, Gemini. It supports Azure, private Azure stuff too. And then there's also, you can pick a data directory, so you can select where you want all the data to be written, so you can post-process it. Everything's written out in terms of JSON files and images and stuff. You can also use the system Chrome. So by default, it will use a clean version of Chrome that like has no profile, no cache, no nothing. But you can also just say, hey, use my desktop Chrome in case you already logged in or have other state that you want to check, or you want to state that you want to check it in, the app in. And here's the thread pool count. This is just so you don't overload your AI calls sometimes with get rate limited. But you can change the number of thread pools. Right now we just have one, serialized it for simplicity. You can also, in browser state settings, you can set your header, custom headers or custom cookies to get past firewalls or blocks and stuff like that if you need. AI Analytics keeps track of how many AI calls happened, all the tokens, which test used how many tokens, and how much all that kind of cost. So you can calculate that. Deterministic mode is when it's turned on, it basically drops the temperature of the AI model as low as possible, depending on the model. It'll even do other things to make it just as deterministic as possible, run over run, have the least amount of variability. And you can also send feedback. So when you download and use this, I'd love to hear feedback or questions. So let's see what we got here. Quick note here. So here's the DOM structure. You can see it's analyzed and broken everything in the page down into parts. Here's all the network activity and console logs and such. And so it'll look at all these console logs, and like all these artifacts here will be tested if they're appropriate for the different testing agents. So it's found some bugs. So we clicked one button, and we've got some bugs here. So obviously, the AI doesn't like that the cookie banner obstructs page content controls. It's actually kind of a lazy. We look at it here. Look at this. It's kind of a lazy banner. It should be, shouldn't obscure the content. It's not a hugely important bug, but it's there. There's also, some resources are failing to load, and some just accessibility issues like alt text is missing and stuff, and even some opinionated things, right? They're not just like crashes and stuff. Repeated small icons at 38 pixels create visual clutter and touch target spacing issues. Visual polish and inconsistency in the footer sections. So it's looked at the whole page and all this stuff and found these bugs. It was kind of cool. And the bugs are interesting. These are like some of the best bugs. These are bugs. The AI files better bugs than I ever did. One thing that's interesting is there's a fix prompt. So for every one of them, there's this prompt here. This is designed, if you copy this and put it into Cursor or into your coding agent, it just tells it how to fix what the bug is. So you don't have to think about how to fix it, find out where it is in the file and change the code. You can just copy paste this, pre-generates the AI fix for you, which is kind of cool. Also explains why the AI thought this was a bug, and it also argues against itself, which might be useful for you to think about, okay, is this really a bug or not? Or, tells you about the fix and why this is a fix, who to route it to. It also tells you what was relevant. So this is complaining about, it'll tell you like if there looks like there's some things that might be related to that element or what caused the bug. You can also rate the issue. So you can star it or you can trash it. And you can also add a comment. So what happens with these is when you star it, it means, hey, this was a legit bug. I like it. And I want to see bugs like this in the future. But say I don't really care about resource loading errors because that's probably a DNS issue or I just don't care right now. You can say trash. What this does now is this tells the AI, hey, I don't care about this stuff. And when you do a run later, it will go, oh, hey, he didn't like. So if there's like 2 or 3 times I've said, hey, I don't care about this error name not resolved, the AI will learn and say, oh, next time I see a bug like that, I may not report it. Well, it'll report it, but it'll by default show up as marked trash by the AI and be a lower priority. So it learns over time what you care about and why. And we'll get to that in a quick sec. The confidence is, and then here's a priority. So the AI has gone and triaged it, and it's auto-triaged the bug, and it says, hey, this is like a priority. You should probably do it, like it's high ROI or something. And the confidence is 9. This is how confident the issue really is an issue, right? Like it may be, like a tester. It's not a Boolean thing, right? Like it's probably a bug, or definitely is a bug, or maybe is a bug. So anyway, just kind of some context on the bugs. But the smartest bugs I've ever seen that I've ever filed. And when you comment on things, this is for the issues report. So let's go in real quick into ratings. So it keeps track of all the issues you've rated trash or starred or what you've commented on. And you can clean that up. You can remove starring and stuff if you want. But the idea here is that this is what the AI uses to learn to do the triaging in the future for you. But even more interesting is that it impacts the issues report. So if you've starred things and you click, and then you click the issues report, it will generate an HTML doc that's like a summary of just all these issues. So you can export it as JSON to post-process or something, or you can just do that and it'll generate an HTML page. And actually, yeah, I won't load it. It's too much clutter. But it's a nice little HTML page of all these bugs that you've starred here on this run. And actually, you can make it do for all runs. Interesting here too, you can see kind of for fun, it highlights all the things that looked at on the page, like all the little elements and stuff like that. But yeah, that's basically a quick tour of how to find bugs with one click using the Testers.AI IDE extension. Try to make it as easy as possible and almost embarrassingly easy to find bugs. And I've been surprised how many testers are actually okay with loading up the IDE, even if they don't code, to find issues. Oh, and then one little bonus here. We'll do a bonus. If you're a developer and you're coding, I want to go, hey, I can go highlight any code I want here too. And I can just say, let's say, tell me accessibility issues, right? I can launch that AI testing agent to test not just the entire app, but also the code. So I can say, kick that AI tester off, and then it'll go off. It'll take this little bit of code and specifically, ask AI and that AI testing agent to see if there's any accessibility issues in this code. And you don't have to be like super fancy. Just like it knows it's a code snippet. It doesn't have to be well formed or whatever. But again, you have like access to all these different agents. You can actually analyze like a JavaScript code for performance, for example, or for GenAI specific types of code issues. And then you get a report. It takes a quick second here. You can tell I'm burning time while the AI is running. We'll wait for it. But it will return like a quick summary report of any accessibility issues and recommendations to do that code. So you can catch the issues not even at runtime, but you can catch them in the code before it even gets deployed, which is pretty awesome. It's basically the extreme version of shifting testing left, right? Left, right. Let's see, here we go. Let's see what Alejandro thought about it. Okay, so the canvas lacks accessible name and fallback content. That's kind of a classic accessibility WCAG issue. And we get here, you can just do, here's the prompt to fix it. And you can also just click fix issue. This is a little, I didn't realize I left this in the build because it's my local build. We're also working on a button here where you can just say fix, and it will just I'll just go into the code and just fix it for you too. So you don't even have to copy paste the prompt into Cursor. So there you go. That's kind of a quick overview tour. It's the fastest way to find bugs in a web page, and it's right in the IDE. There's no excuse for bugs ever reaching the test team or into production. Thanks. And if you have feedback or comments, let me know. Also, sign up at Testers.AI if you want the fully unlocked version, and it will be in the IDE Visual Code, and there's an open source one too. But the marketplace is for extensions soon, so you'll be able to search for it in your IDE for extensions and just find it and install it and get going in minutes. Thanks, and happy testing, and let's make software awesome. Thanks.